As I navigated my new life at Maple Grove, I unearthed that vulnerability can birth resilience. Could this unexpected camaraderie heal the hidden wounds of my past? As I settled into my new home at Maple Grove Retirement Facility, I found myself weaving through a kaleidoscope of strange emotions. There was a flicker of excitement that danced with anxiety in my gut, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. The sprawling gardens and the chirpy chatter of neighbors brought memories flooding back, like the first day of school, full of promise and uncertainty. Watching the rainbow of personalities around me, I realized that although we were all together, we each carried our unique stories. My neighbor, George, who kept himself near the sunlit window, shared quips that made the room explode with laughter, while I offered more reflective insights about life's passage. This shared experience, though layered with challenges, painted a substantial backdrop of hope that I found particularly invigorating. However, my first revelation hit me like a cool breeze when I noticed just how my independence had been reshaped by this transition. Who would have thought that moving into a retirement facility would require me to give up certain freedoms? One evening, I found myself miffed when Linda, our enthusiastic activities coordinator, gently reminded me of the curfew for the evening classes. "It's for safety," she had said with her warm smile. At that moment, I bristled at the implication of being treated like a child again. Did my age really warrant this curtailment of my freedom? Yet, I also realized that perhaps it was less about loss and more about a new way of finding independence within the structure. The beauty lay in realizing that the very framework designed to protect us could be an opportunity for growth. I began to seek ways to assert my choices, like innovating the evening classes into themed discussions that echoed my passions for literature and art. It was thrilling to be in control of my social engagement, showing me that my autonomy could still exist amid these gentle boundaries. Even George decided to take the reins with his engineering stint, suggesting trivia nights about inventions and innovation. We partnered in planning these groups, sharing ideas with our neighbors, and soon I was rising each day, eagerly anticipating whom I would inspire or be inspired by. This sparked my second eye-opening reality. Connectivity flourishes within a supportive community. At first, I hesitated to participate, thinking others might be reserved or burdened by the weight of their stories. I had half expected that settling into this retirement facility would yield an atmosphere heavy with nostalgia and perhaps regret. However, every time I ventured into the common room, I found the richness of connections blooming among us residents. It turned out that most of us craved a sense of belonging, a vessel for our companionship, where laughter could erupt just as easily as solemn reminiscences. George, with his magnetic personality, became the life of the party while reminding us that we were not just passers-by in each other's stories, but vital contributors. With Linda's guidance, I also discovered the importance of blending activities that catered to different interests. Yoga on Tuesday mornings with the soft hum of the instructor's voice soothed my spirit, while Friday afternoons became dedicated to art classes, a cause I championed after finding a mutual passion amongst residents. Each gathering illuminated my next lesson about shared discovery. Our passions ignited when encouraged by others' experiences. The hidden gems among us became apparent, like Martha, who knitted vibrant scarves while sharing tales of her travels, or Sam, the former chef, who dazzled us all with his culinary anecdotes mixed with spontaneous cooking classes. Each connection knit our lives into a beautiful tapestry of understanding and joy. Accompanying the thrill of camaraderie was an unexpected realization about vulnerability. As we shared stories of our lives, struggles, and dreams, barriers that perhaps felt insurmountable began to dissolve. Each encounter fortified a new kind of courage within me, a willingness to be open and to embrace not just my own fears of aging, but also those of my friends in the community. On a heartfelt evening, I shared my personal journey as a teacher, beginning with shaky nerves and ending with wisdom that only life can teach. Their warm reception swiftly reminded me of the solidarity we shared. George, with his delightful wit, reflected this sentiment perfectly. The fun thing about getting older, You accumulate stories so great that they make good company. With every passing week, I recognized that adaptability became a vital ingredient for not only surviving but thriving within this environment. It urged me to embrace change, whether by participating in activities that pushed my limits or by meeting people from diverse paths. The journey isn't just about adjusting to a new place. It's about mastering the art of adaptation while finding the beauty in shared experiences. I discovered that life doesn't cease with age. The possibilities can be as vibrant as a bloom in spring. With newfound allies like George and the forever enthusiastic Linda leading the way, I felt enveloped in a wave of renewed purpose. As I reflect on these eye-opening realities emerging from my move to Maple Grove, I can't help but ponder what else this new chapter will unveil. How many more lessons lie waiting to be uncovered as I embrace this journey in community and connection? The adventures are just beginning. One particularly invigorating afternoon, as I prepared for an art class, I paused at the doorway, intrigued by a lively group gathered around the community bulletin board. Residents murmured excitedly, discussing upcoming events and potential outings. It felt almost like a school assembly, buzzing with anticipation. The sight sparked a tingle of joy within me. I realized that this collective energy was precisely what my heart craved. The thrill of planning something as simple as a picnic or sharing a communal meal brought out an eagerness in everyone, restoring life to our gathering space. Encouraged by the excitement around me, I contributed an idea of my own, a talent show. The sparkle in everyone's eyes confirmed that we needed more evenings filled with laughter and creativity, unearthing talents that had long lain dormant beneath layers of routine. The organizing process was a collaborative whirlwind. George and I rallied fellow residents, enthusiastically signing up those who had once been painfully shy about sharing their skills. Martha's knitting transformed into a display of elegant scarves for audience voting, while Sam whipped up delightful hors d'oeuvres. I discovered hidden talents in people, like Judith, who sang like an angel, and Frank, a captivating storyteller who, with each word, painted vivid memories of his adventurous youth. Hearing their stories and watching them emerge into their strengths was a lesson in itself. The interactions reflected the pulse of our community, vibrant, diverse, and beautifully chaotic. By the time the talent show day arrived, a bond formed among us that was palpably strong, ready for the laughter to explode into the hall. That evening, as I sat amongst my neighbors, my heart swelled with pride. We were a mixed bag of backgrounds, hobbies, and histories, yet all settled into a common rhythm through this joyful performance. Each act was a feast for the senses. Laughter echoed after Judith's powerful rendition of an old classic, and Frank's storytelling brought us back to a time where we dreamed of exploring the world. I felt the walls of loneliness and doubt crumble further, replaced by this heartening realization. Vulnerability produces strength and connections forged through shared experiences. Engaging in such moments, where one could openly celebrate, became a testimony that we are never truly alone when we are willing to lay bare our hearts. But moving beyond shared laughter, I also encountered the poignant moments that came with those vulnerable exchanges. Conversations grew deeper. Emotional barriers melted in the warmth of mutual support. At one late-night tea gathering, as cups teetered with steam, the weight of loss came rushing in. Many of us had suffered significant losses: partners, friends, purpose. But in those discussions, I felt our collective resilience surfacing. George's gentle humor every time he shared tales of his late wife provided a reflective lens to our grief. He once said, "What remains isn't the sadness of loss, but the joy of having loved fiercely." That simple notion became a guiding light during an evening dedicated to remembering the beauty of life's numerous connections, triumphant or otherwise. Through these exchanges, it became glaringly clear how pivotal social connections proved to be in combating isolation. Loneliness is a formidable foe, particularly among older adults. Studies reveal that nearly half experience significant solitude, which brings a multitude of health consequences. Yet, in our spirited community at Maple Grove, conversations flourished like wildflowers after a spring rain. Within our lives' textured tapestry, I forged unique connections that served as threads of cohesive fellowship, each interaction a gentle reminder of our strength and unity. I became engrossed in initiating dialogues, welcoming curiosity, and remembering names. It soon became a delightful habit to visit new faces, fueled by a sense of purpose. I wanted to get to know them all. What caught me most off guard was the act of giving, which turned out to be the foundation of my contentment. Each contribution to our social fabric fostered a reciprocal process. Sharing stories, ideas, and laughter stoked the embers of kinship created amongst us. Encouraged by the burgeoning array of friendships, I began leading dedicated reading sessions for those wanting to explore various genres. Linda offered her logistical support, creating a cozy corner in our shared media room where books flew off the shelves and stories became intimate bonds. Each meeting grew in attendance, with Evelyn diving back into her childhood love for poetry and Mary presenting nature photography, igniting a creative spark within all of us. The transformation within our tight-knit group proved that vulnerability birthed acceptance. We uplifted each other while nurturing our raw edges. As I reflect on these wondrous experiences, I realize how powerful it is to be open to vulnerability and connection in a community setting. Moving into Maple Grove forced me to rethink how I approached my aging journey without focusing solely on my needs, but also on those around me. Each heart shared, every story told, and every laughter echoed solidified the reality that choice reigns supreme, even amidst change. My heart beats with gratitude as I watch the friendships flourish. For now, community becomes a lifeblood, and living each day with intention is handsomely rewarding. With each connection I forge, who knows what new revelations await us as I continue to engage with those around me and discover even more aspects of myself. There's so much more ahead to unravel. As I settled into my new routine at Maple Grove, I found myself confronting the deep-seated, preconceived notions I had about aging and what my life would entail in this new chapter. I had arrived expecting a quieter existence, perhaps an inspiration for reflecting on the past. Instead, what I encountered was an awakening of possibilities, surrounded by neighbors who were not only embracing their age but also exploring their passions. I felt a shift within myself. It was in these interactions with vibrant individuals that I noticed how misconceptions about aging often overshadowed the reality that it is merely the beginning of a different journey, full of opportunities for growth. Whether it was George discussing his latest project on renewable energy or Judith leading a watercolor painting workshop, each day presented new lessons and talents waiting to be unveiled, shattering my previous views of what seniors were capable of. Empowered by this fresh perspective, I embarked on the adventure of revisiting forgotten dreams and interests. One sunny afternoon, bolstered by newfound inspiration, I dusted off my old knitting needles and unrolled a skein of soft pastel yarn. Memories flooded back of the cozy afternoons spent creating scarves and hats for family, or the spirited conversation around the community center, led by my students. The act itself filled me with warmth. In that moment, I realized that it wasn't just the product that mattered, but the joy and fulfillment that the process of creation brought me. I joined the knitting circle that Linda led and was pleasantly surprised by the enthusiasm of our fellow knitters, many of whom confessed they hadn't picked up their needles in years. Together, we rekindled a shared passion and fostered friendships, proving that joy could be woven into our lives just as easily as our yarn transformed into beautiful designs. The health benefits of engaging in new activities began to reveal themselves almost immediately. I learned that studies show that lifelong learning not only enriches our experiences, but also has profound effects on our cognitive and emotional well-being. As I shared knitting tips with Martha and swapped stories with Helen about our favorite knitting patterns, I felt a clear connection between our collective engagement and the laughter that erupted around us. This communal atmosphere sparked natural conversations about other hobbies we longed to pursue, illuminating a path for rediscovering talents and interests that may have been buried under the weight of decades. In this nurturing environment, it seemed every day presented a chance for personal growth. This empowered me further. I began to apply this principle to other areas of my life, encouraging fellow residents to explore activities that intrigued them. However, reevaluating the relationship with age was not just limited to hobbies and workshops. I also discovered the beauty of storytelling, particularly during our weekly creative meetings. The first time I presented an excerpt from my childhood diary, I was stunned by the enthusiasm it garnered from my peers. Encouraged by the supportive responses, I encouraged others to share too. Frank dazzled us with his daring accounts of youthful escapades, while George shared a poignant tale of how he designed a bridge that had become part of the city's heart. Each story woven into our gathering became an ethereal thread that connected us. In recalling those memories, we reaffirmed our identities. The act of sharing our experiences, much like painting on a blank canvas, allowed us to express pride in our legacies. I came to recognize that our tales didn't just signify what was behind us, but served as a reflection of the vibrant tapestry we continue to build as a community. Looking around, I realized that confronting the challenges of aging requires a commitment to engage with one another, to explore our curiosities, and to celebrate our shared human experiences. It dawned on me that our social interactions at Maple Grove acted like a life-affirming tonic, nurturing relationships that transcend age or circumstance. As I embraced new creative pursuits and exchanged stories, I witnessed friendships blossoming around me, providing the warmth and support necessary to navigate this stage of life. More importantly, I understood now that age is merely a marker on the path of experience. The real beauty lies in the bonds formed through vulnerability, trust, and exploration. As my spirit rejuvenated through these endeavors, I felt the gentle yet firm push to open myself further within our community. Perhaps this awakening also demanded courage. My eagerness to overcome the initial hesitance that often accompanies stepping into the unknown. Knowing the importance of confronting our own fears, I proposed a series of workshops centered around skill sharing, from beginners' cooking classes featuring family recipes passed through generations to technology sessions that demystified the latest gadgets. I sought to create spaces for everyone to come together, learn, and grow. With each session, we gathered in lively chatter, hungry for both knowledge and camaraderie. Little did I know that deepening these connections would serve as a conduit for personal revitalization, a dynamism proving crucial in this later life phase. Reflecting on this journey, I see how much I have transformed alongside my loved ones at Maple Grove. Life continues to be filled with rich experiences that compel us to assert our agency, exploring uncharted territories despite societal expectations. In each shared laugh, every story unveiled, and every project pursued, the underlying message became crystal clear. We alone hold the power to redefine the narrative of aging. Curiosity has become my compass, reminding me that with every interaction lies the potential for profound change. As my heart swells with eagerness to continue this journey, I wonder, what else will I discover as I allow myself to appreciate the vibrant world that surrounds me? As I venture deeper into my new life at Maple Grove, I encountered the reality of health changes, an inevitable part of growing older. What I had learned was both enlightening and sobering. Our bodies might require more care and attention, but that didn't mean we couldn't thrive. One chilly afternoon, while out on a sunny walk in the garden, I noticed a sharp ache in my knee, a reminder of my own fragility. At first, I found myself spiraling into self-doubt, thinking of how this physical setback might limit my involvement in community activities. It was George who noticed my hesitation while I sat on a nearby bench, a furrowed brow reflecting my inner turmoil. With his characteristic wit, he joked about his own failing knees, reminding me that our joint pain came with a built-in excuse to appreciate a slower pace. His humor transformed how I viewed my condition. It wasn't a sentence restricting me, but rather an opportunity to cultivate resilience and adaptability. Empowered by George's playful perspective, I sought to understand that nurturing our emotional well-being while dealing with health fluctuations is imperative. I remembered Linda's gentle reminders about mindfulness practices during our activity sessions. She often encouraged simple techniques such as focused breathing and guided visualization to manage stress. Motivated by her words, I decided to attend a mindfulness workshop she organized. There I learned practical, approachable methods for creating moments of calm amid the chaos of uncertainty. As I practiced these techniques, I began negotiating my relationship with discomfort. Instead of viewing it as a setback, I learned to embrace it as a facet of my journey. Soon I felt memories of joy and laughter alongside the pain, unveiling a resilience that I hadn't known existed within me. Interestingly, the workshop fostered a sense of camaraderie among the participants, a remarkable side effect of shared vulnerability. I found myself surrounded by others who were navigating similar health issues, some contending with ailments, others exhibiting fatigue from emotional exhaustion. We realized that these struggles connected us in deeper ways than we had ever anticipated. Sharing our individual journeys allowed us to lift each other up, an act that revealed yet another form of empowerment. As I recounted my own stories of battling self-doubt after receiving news about my health changes, I could see both empathy and encouragement written on the faces of my peers. In those moments, I understood that resilience wasn't solely about enduring hardship, but also about leaning on one another for support. Incorporating these lessons into my everyday life, I began to develop a routine that encompassed both physical and emotional well-being. Simple morning stretches, followed by breath-focused exercises, became essential parts of my day. I encouraged others to join me, building a small yet enthusiastic group that met under the bright blooming cherry blossom tree each morning. The laughter and conversations that emanated from our sessions transformed them into a vital source of joy and connection. It became clear that we were not merely combating the challenges that accompanied aging. Rather, we were striving to enhance our quality of life. With the assistance of my newfound friends, I felt capable of embracing each fleeting moment, facing the next day with enthusiasm rather than trepidation. As I reflected on this journey, it became abundantly clear that each health change I encountered was woven into the larger fabric of community support and shared growth. The reality of aging presented struggles, but I chose to view these hardships as part of the vibrant tapestry we were creating in our lives at Maple Grove. I couldn't help but admire how stories exchanged among friends fostered resilience while igniting passion, illuminating the importance of community interaction. The layers of compassion and understanding helped reinforce the belief that we hold the power to find fulfillment in our senior years. After all, personal growth doesn't cease with age. Rather, it blossoms anew when we remain open to change and embrace our collective experience, fundamentally altering how we interact with one another. Emboldened by these revelations, I realized that our shared narratives and connections had the potential to guide us through the inevitable challenges. We can choose to reframe the narrative of aging, transforming limitations into stepping stones that enrich our lives, an affirmation of our continued agency. So what if my knee ached after our spirited walks? Everything I learned, every joyful moment shared with George, Martha, and Linda, shattered the constraints I'd imposed on myself. This period of life, filled with laughter and love, urged me to savor each moment as we crafted our stories. With resilience as our shared strength, I eagerly wondered what new adventures